Hello, my name is Vince Romo. I want to thank you for tuning in today. What this show is about, it's about barrio lifestyle, about being raised in the barrio, being from the barrio, the do's and the don'ts, the what's and the where's, the who's in the house. Welcome to Barrio Driven.
Today I'm here with Mario Miranda from Barrio Monrovia, also known as Pig. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there a quick introduction that you would like to give the audience before we get started?
Well, I just wanted to introduce myself. Like you said, I'm from the city of Monrovia. It's a suburb of Los Angeles in the San Gabriel Valley. Just wanted to come and spend some time with you today and have some conversation.
Well, gracias, carnal. Gracias for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being in the hot seat. You know, not everybody wants to sit there because we hit you guys heavy on Barrio Driven. And you ready?
I'm ready.
Tell me about your childhood, carnal.
I had a really good childhood up until my father having a stroke. That changed my life forever. You know, I had 3 brothers and a sister. I was born in '65, so I had about 5 or 6 good years, you know, before my father had a stroke, and I had the best childhood a kid could have. We wanted for nothing, and like I said earlier, if we were poor, we didn't know it because we had everything, Christmases, birthdays, everything, but life changed dramatically once my father left the house.
How old were you when your father had a stroke?
Let's see, I was 7 years old.
7 years old?
Yeah, 7 years old.
And you had shared with me previously that you were with your father when he had the stroke, is that correct?
Yeah, my younger brother and I were headed to the store with him when he was driving and started, I guess, having issues from the stroke, getting dizzy. So we turned around and went back to the house, and that's when he had the stroke.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. In front of you guys?
Yeah, actually, I remember holding on to the doorwell and saying, I need to go to the hospital. Something don't feel right. And that was it. Once he left the house, he was never ever the same. You know, and life just changed completely from that day forward.
What changed, Carnal?
On my father or my life?
Your life.
Oh, it's just mayhem. You know, my father was the breadwinner.
Yeah.
You know, my mother took care of 5 kids, which is a job in itself.
Yeah.
You know, but she didn't work. She took care of the household. But all of a sudden now she's faced with, you know, paying the rent, making the money, and she just couldn't do it. You know, she just started drinking and leaving us in the house alone, unattended, no food, no supervision. You know, and for some reason I just stepped up and I did what I needed to do to, you know, feed my siblings, you know, until finally, you know, some point later, the DPS came in, I guess, and took us out of the household and gave us to my grandmother.
So you're saying that, okay, hold on. You're saying that you were doing whatever you could to feed your siblings. Like, okay, so let me catch up. I'm a little bit.
All right.
Okay, your father, he had a stroke.
Yeah.
Did he pass away from the stroke?
No, he was incapacitated for like 2 years in a rehabilitation center in Downey.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So he was out of the household for at least 2 years. And during that 2 years, we'd struggle. You know, my mother would, you know, whatever. I don't even remember how the bills got paid or anything, but I do remember in those 2 years, I would have to go and steal stuff at the market just to bring home something so we could eat. And the neighbors, thank God for the neighbors, you know, they would give us food, you know.
Wow, so at 7, 8, 9 years old, you're out there stealing from the markets.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's heavy.
Yeah.
Just so you guys could eat.
Yeah, just something, you know. And then it was funny because we would make my little brother, you know, I'd write a note, please give my son 4 hamburgers and 4 fries at a burger stand by the house. And and we'd make him go get it, and he would get it. If, you know, we thought, oh, it worked, you know, but I guess the guy just felt sorry for my brother and gave us the food, but you know, it was like that, and yeah, and until my father was able to come back home in a wheelchair, but totally
wasn't the same.
Just was not, you know. And so at that age, I'm putting him on the toilet, in bed, out of bed, you know, because he couldn't walk.
He couldn't do nothing for himself.
And when he finally fell on me, I couldn't get him off me, so we had to get the help. And then finally, that's when they took us out of the house, put my dad in a convalescent home, and he stood there until he had a relapse 10 years later, and this time the second stroke, you know, killed him. Yeah, killed him. But
sorry,
you know, thank you. And but by that time I already had been, you know, out there running this, you know.
So let me ask you this: did your mother approve of you guys stealing this food? Was she okay with it?
You know, to be quite honest, I was so young. I don't even think she was really even caring, because
she was so with your dad, with everything she went through.
The trauma, I guess, of, you know, and I guess she just wasn't strong enough to handle the situation or ask for help, because instead of saying, hey, you know what,
don't do this, this is wrong.
Exactly.
She needed the help.
She took it. So, and it was that way until she passed, you know what I mean, years later. But it's just like I just, for some reason, instinctively, I took over, man, and I just, all the way until I got, you know, as an adult, I was always taking care of my siblings, looking out for them, and, you know, and just being the strong one.
So you got, basically, child services came and removed you guys from the home.
From that home.
From your mother's home.
Yes.
And this was about 10 years old?
Yeah, I was about 10 years old.
Okay, 10 years old. And they placed you with your grandparents?
My grandmother.
How was life with your grandmother?
Oh, there was food. I was happy. There was stability.
Yeah.
You know, it was great. I mean, you know, but my grandmother was my grandfather passed away in '69, so you know there was no really a father figure.
No father figure in your life.
No father figure in my life, and just my grandmother. But
well, let me ask you, since life is great, you know, you guys are doing good. There's food on the table. Right. You know, the bills are paid. You guys are all right.
Right.
What were wrong, Karna, that you ended up going down?
Just being out there running, you know, because like I said, early in the early '70s, mid '70s, you know, we didn't have video games or we stay home, and you know, our playland was outside.
The streets, yeah.
The streets. So you know, I'm out there, you know, just having fun, and I see things, and then I met an older homeboy from the neighborhood. I wasn't in the neighborhood yet, but I met an older homeboy, and I just liked the way he looked, man, tacked up. He, you know, brocha, lentes, and he was well respected in the neighborhood, and he kind of took me under the wing and was, you know, started teaching me about
the ropes,
the ropes and the, you know, what to do and what not to do, how to carry myself, what to say, what not to say. Yeah. So that he kind of became like a mentor to me.
And you liked that.
And I loved it, man.
The respect that he had.
Yes, I did.
You know, this is how it's run. And it's attractive, isn't it?
It was very attractive, brother.
You know,
it was.
You look up to the older homeboys. You know, you see them, and you're like, man, this is what you want to be. This is, you see how they're respected, feared. You know, you like that.
Yeah.
At what age did you get in the barrio?
Well, I didn't get into it until I was really. I mean, I started. I knew all because I was hanging around, you know, he'd take me with him everywhere, kind of like a little mascot. So I got to know who was who were the dope fiends, who were, you know, this and that. And they never messed with me or nothing because, you know, because of him.
What kind of things did you see, Garnett?
Oh, I seen, back then in them days, you know, heroin used to be sold in little balloons. They would wrap it up in little balloons. So sometimes they, you know, I'd hold on to it, you know, because back in them days, who's gonna pull over a guy or something with a kid or because they really just didn't do that. So I'd hold on to it, and then we'd go down to, you know, a part in my neighborhood called the Campito, and we'd make, you know, the deliveries or whatever, and I would just watch and learn, and, you know, and I always kept my mouth shut about it. You know, I learned what to do, like I said, and what not to do. And but I in high school, basically.
So you were actually You were delivering.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know it,
Yeah.
you know, till I got older.
Yeah, till you got
you
older.
know,
Yeah.
and you know, so about time in high school, you know, I was a more concerned about surviving. You know, I didn't get into the trouble or anything like that because
Yeah.
my concern was just trying to survive. You know, because I remember I didn't have before my grandmother. I had mayhem. You know, was I gonna eat today? This and that. So when I got into high school, I met my friend, my compadre. He got me into boxing.
Yeah.
You know, so then.
But before that, you were out there slanging basically at this young age.
Yeah, at a young
Even
age.
in high school, you were slanging as well.
Well, not on a regular basis. I just in high school I had already kind of got away from that because I was older now. So now I was out just trying to make money any way I could. I used to sell avocados.
Oh, shit.
There was an avocado grove across the street from my grandmother's house. So I'm 14 years old. I used to go across the street, pick avocados, put 10 in a bag, and I'd walk. So you know, I would sell avocados. And even before that, in the gas shortages in 74, 75, I told my grandma, let me borrow $20. You know, she tells me, como que $20? Está loco. You know, because that's a lot of money back then.
Yeah, it was.
So she took me to the tienda. She bought me a lot of soda pop. I will never forget it. It was Springfield soda pop, 17 cents a can. And she bought me a bunch of it. I put it in a bucket, put ice in it, and I walked the gas lines.
Wow.
You know, and I sold them sodas for 75 cents a can. So when I made the money back, I gave her money plus a little more. And then she told me, you know, anytime you want to borrow money, you know, because she, you know, she saw the entrepreneur in me. Yeah. And I've always been that way, you know. So I've always had a way of seeing things. Go, man, I can make some money doing that, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, and then just being out there in the streets, and then of course when the cocaine came into you know, in the 80s and stuff like that, you start picking up, and you know, you start meeting people, you start wheeling and dealing, and it, you know, I was in that. I did all that, you know.
So your main thing is basically slanging. You were the dope man.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Yeah.
You were the dope man.
Yeah. I used to buy, you know, thank God, because I know God has a purpose.
Yeah, he does.
For all of us, and and you know, so now when I've spoken with Paulie when I first started. I knew of Paul because I used to box out of his same gym, but he was already gone, you know, doing his thing.
Yeah.
And
that's Paul Banky you're referring to. Yeah,
and when I got to meet him and hear his story, you know, I related because, you know, I too at one time, you know, my uncle, when I was living with my grandmother, her son wanted me to get away from the khakis, and he didn't allow me to, but I was rebellious, and we'd get in a fight and I'd hit him, and he'd throw me out of the house, get out of here. At 14, or, you know, so I would be like, you know, I'll go, I don't care, you know, I know how to survive, so I would go crash out in the park, or, you know, or the baseball diamond were, you know, and I'd sleep there. I'd wait for McDonald's to throw their food out. I got shown how, you know. So when he touched on a few things earlier, it took me back, and I'm like, I remember that, you know. I remember that, but you know, everything for me was just basically survival, and just but.
So but right now, where we're at right now, you're doing well. Am I correct? Because you're slanging. You're the dope man.
Yeah.
You're out there. How much? If you were to say, find money-wise, how much money do you think you're making a week?
Oh, my God. Oh, man. By myself at that time, about maybe $3,000, $4,000.
A week?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know,
and what year was this?
This is, well, when I really got into that, this was like the early 1990s. You know, I was
$3-4 a week.
Yeah, about $3-4 because I was just doing
good money.
Yeah, well, you know, I wasn't trying to. Like I said, I got taught early on, don't get flashy, don't you know, keep your in. So I didn't get greedy, and you know, I gave away a lot of it. I helped a lot of him, even though it was, you know, illicit money or whatever. Man, I helped out a lot of people, man, and I never had money before, so you know, I didn't invest. I hadn't had anybody to teach me, hey, invest some of that, do this like I do now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it just came and went, came and went.
Came and went.
Yeah, and I can recall at that time purchasing birds and whatnot at the cost that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get myself in trouble,
course
you know.
not.
But it's the past, you know.
Yes,
but I was fortunate. But you know, I did a lot of good things with that money and stuff. But when I started looking, when I finally had, I had remorse, and I started thinking about, you know, who I was really hurting.
Yeah.
You know.
Who were you hurting, Colonel?
I was hurting people's families. You know, I was hurting that person. Because when I mentor the kids now and I talk to kids and I not to get upset, but to tell them, you know, why are you doing that? You know, I got to do what I got to do to survive. And then I go through this, you know, I tell them, that's just an excuse to satisfy your guilt by saying that. I said, because how much do you really need to survive a day? I go, so when you make that quota, do you turn off your phone or do you stop selling? No, you keep selling because you get greedy. Yeah. And I said, so I've been there, but I had just one day I just started realizing what I was doing and what it was hurting, and it hurt me, because I figured I'm taking away somebody's daddy instead of helping him. I'm hurting him. I'm selling him this drug, and that's when, you know, I was like, man, I started feeling bad, and you know, and then when like I told you, I found out I was gonna be a daddy myself. That's when I.
So you started feeling remorse, but before that you were making about $3,000-4,000 a week.
Yeah.
And was this all in your city of Monrovia, or was it in actually different cities?
Actually, I had a partner, and you know, sometimes he'd be busy, he couldn't take care of his people, so I would take care of his people as well. And I had 2 guys flying in from different parts of the country.
Wow.
Yeah, and back in these days, back in the time when I was doing that, they didn't make you take your boots off or your shoes off at the airport.
Yeah.
So he would come in, I'd give him what he wanted, and he'd stuff his boots. Wow. And you know, and it was just constantly.
So you had guys flying in from where? Where were they flying in from?
One was from Nevada, and one was from Colorado.
And they were flying in for you?
They were flying in to pick up product.
Wow.
You know, pick up product. And it was, you wouldn't even recognize these guys as to be, I mean, whatever.
They look like a
just normal guy.
And that's how we do it.
And that's it, you know. Yeah. And
we want to stay underneath the radar.
Exactly. That's why I said I used to go in the airport, pick them up, head out, go do our business, take them back in, and you know.
Yeah.
And it was a different now, because now there's so much, you know. There's just it's you know, all them bases have been covered already.
Yeah. Did you ever get busted or incarcerated?
Nope. I got raided.
I got raided. What year was this you got raided?
I got raided probably 90. My brother passed in 95. It was before he passed. So it was thank you. 94, I think, 94, 93, 94.
And they raided the house?
They raided my apartment. Wow. Because my brothers, you know, they smoke pot.
Yeah.
But I never sold that on my pad. That was I always thought that's your dwelling, you know. But my brothers would come over and they'd smoke weed and watch football games, get loud. And, you know, so when they finally came to my pad, I was at work, and my buddy called me, and he goes, hey, they hit it. They hit the pad. And I go, what? And they didn't find none, because
you
didn't
keep nothing.
But brother, I could tell you stories. The reason why is the night before I had a feeling, I never been paranoid or nothing, and I had got a feeling I was gonna get raided.
Really?
And something told me, get rid of your shit. So I gathered up everything, you know, that I got it out of the house.
Wow! So the night before you got raided,
I had someone.
What happened? Did you have premonition?
That's what I'm saying. But let me tell you something. When I was 19 years old, I had surgery and I bled out and died. Okay,
really?
I went to the other side. I came back. So I'm telling you this.
Well, we want to talk about everything.
Okay.
I want to know everything. That's why we start with your childhood.
Okay.
You kind of went into.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We want to know it all. You know what I'm saying? But we're here right now. So you had a premonition. What was it that you found?
Something just said, Mario. It's like I could hear, and I've always had this gift, brother. It's like I heard someone say, get rid of your stuff. Get rid of it. Yeah. So I got it. And one thing I never did was not listen to my instincts.
To your voice, yes.
I always listened to my instincts.
That's
and
right.
My homeboys used to tell me that when you listen to your instincts.
That's right.
You know, so, and I preach that to this day, you know, so I got rid of everything. And I remember taking my scale out of my bedroom, putting it in the kitchen, you know, and right there playing. So when they hit my apartment, man, they tore my apartment up, but they didn't find nothing because I had moved it the night before downstairs into my jefita's apartment.
Oh, wow.
And I put it in her apartment.
Yeah.
So when they came and they didn't find nothing, so they start talking to my roommate, you know, well, where's all this? And where? I don't know what you're talking about, you know? And
yeah, of course.
what's the scale for?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, he uses that to measure his meats out because he watches his diet, you know?
That's right.
And I, you know, and he goes, he goes, you know, he ain't no fighter no more. He's too fat. That's what they took, because they had been watching me, you know, I guess, apparently, you know? So after that, you think I would have been like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, you're
but
done.
I didn't, you know?
Of course not. We
of course.
we're hard-headed.
We're hard. So, you know, I kept doing it for a little while longer. And like I said, I met my son's mother when I lived there. And
how many years did you deal?
Well, if you're going to start talking, unbeknownst to delivery, because like I said, when I was holding on to, I didn't know what I was doing as a kid. I would just think it was cool to ride. I'm riding along in the big homie's car. We're making deliveries, and I'm like, no father figure, and I like this. You know, I hadn't, you know, and
of course,
and so I thought it was like cool, you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what I was doing until years later when I realized what, you know, what I was doing. But I actually started from like 1990 till about 95, 96 is when I was just running amok.
So about 5-6 years you were really out there, making that fat.
Yeah. Oh, I was buying 2 keys a month.
Wow. Brother.
And just, you know, and just.
That's heavy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's heavy.
You know, I had a piggy bank, a big old piggy bank that I'd go when I'd come home from out there, I would just remember just stuffing it.
Wow. So life was good, Colonel.
Oh, my, it was great. You know, brother, when you're growing up, you know, poor and stuff, and I can recall my homies in high school having the Nikes, the members only, and I couldn't afford them. Mine was Tracks from Kmart, the blue light special shoes, you know?
Of course, Colonel.
And so when I started having this extra money, I would go to the mall and...
Like it ain't no thing.
Like
you know?
nothing. And I wouldn't even look at before you're like, what?
What's the price? Yeah.
No, I mean, I went in there, and if I liked it, I just bought it. And before I could leave the mall, if I spent $400 or $500 on clothes or whatever I was in there, but before I even left the mall, I already had money lined up to make, because I already had customers coming in before I even left the mall.
Wow.
So,
that's
you know,
heavy.
yeah,
That's
you know,
heavy,
so, but I mean, you know.
You had mentioned, and we usually don't do this, we usually kind of like go, but you had mentioned right now that you died when you were 19.
Yeah.
So even though we're right now, we're a little bit older, we're going to go back for a quick second.
I'm sorry, I could jump all over.
No, it's okay.
One memory triggers another memory, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's totally fine. So what happened at 19 that you died? Talk to us. What happened?
All right, so I had already started boxing.
Yeah.
And I always had problems breathing because I had a deviated septum.
Okay.
So I couldn't really, you know, keep my mouth closed, my mouthpiece in, and breathe through my nose because my septum was, so I'd always have to go, you know, so I had an opportunity because of my native blood. I had an opportunity to go have surgery done and get it handled. So, and it's funny that I said, but when I went there with this, I wanted a circumcision.
Yeah.
So the doctor goes, you know, no problem.
Yeah, hey, let's do it.
So let's do it, 2 for 1.
Yeah.
I said, cool. So that's what they did. So I go and I get it done, and they do the circumcision, and I can remember starting to wake up from the, you know, the surgery.
Yeah.
And I saw the light, you know, above me, and I'm sitting there, and I'm starting to wake up from the surgery, and I see a doctor walking by my bed, and he goes like this. I never get it. He goes like this. He looks at me, and he goes, and he looks, and he comes around to the side of the bed, and I remember him he was just standing, and I remember him grabbing the blankets, and when he lifted it up, all I saw was deep purple. And what happened was, I guess they didn't sew me up right or whatever, or something burst, but I started to leak out, you know? And I remember him calling something, and they just swarmed on me. And they grabbed me, and they're trying to stop the bleeding, whatever. And I remember that it hurt. Even though I was still druggy, I was going, I don't know if they're trying to sew me up right there or what. But next thing you know, I remember they just shooting me down, and I saw the lights going like this. And then next thing you know, man, I'm in darkness. and I could feel myself walking, man. And I went from laying, you know, seeing these lights to I couldn't see nothing, brother. I couldn't see. I'm just walking in the dark, and I could feel myself walking, and I seen like this, just like that, like a light right here. And I'm looking at it, and I'm just walking towards it. And as soon as I got to it, it was like stepping into this cloud. And I was like, what's going on? You know, I'm looking, I'm like, what, you know? And I look, and I could see figures coming to me.
Really?
And I start looking, and they're walking towards me, and as they get closer, it's my dad, my grandfather, my grandmother, my great aunt, and my favorite dog, Shamu. When I used to tell the story, I wouldn't throw the dog in there because I would think they would think that I'm lying, or I'm like,
lying. Yeah,
but
yeah.
after reading books and stuff on it, and as they go on the other side too, I started bringing him back. But my dad was touching me and telling me, "You'll be all right, man, but you can't stay." See, and I knew my dad most of my life in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Because of the stroke. I never, you know, I really didn't know my dad was standing up walking.
And he was walking.
And he used to always tell me, "I'm going to walk again, son. I'm going to walk
That's
again."
right.
You know, because he went from totally being incapacitated to at least moving and talking before, you know, he went to the convalescent home. But he used to tell me when I would visit him at the convalescent home, I'm going to walk again, son. So when I went to the side, he was walking, and I was like, Dad, I was like, I mean, I was just like, wow. And you can't stay, son. I go, Dad, I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back. He goes, you have to, man. There's a lot of things you got to do. And so the next thing you know, man, I felt like something just went, and I looked down and I could see the surgeon wearing a Warner Brothers surgery cap, and it had Porky Pig and you know the Daffy Duck characters. And I could see him working on me. And then next thing you know, I woke up again in the recovery room. But this time my uncle was standing by me, and I told him, I saw my dad and grandma. He's like, okay, Mio, okay, you know, like pacify me. And I was like, and so after that, and I think I've always had, I think we all have it.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize till about maybe 5 years ago that I had this gift, because once I went through that, I started to experience people that have passed, or want to convey a message to somebody. I could be sitting somewhere, and all of a sudden I'm getting this voice or this in my head, and I could, you know, and I'm talking to this individual, and I'm like, man, I'm not gonna sit here, man, and hey, how you doing, man? I got this spirit in my head, man, you know. And I'm thinking, you know, so the person would, and I could tell you story after story, brother. Really? Oh, that this has happened to me many a times, where I don't even know the person, man, but I'm telling them, hey, I'm getting this, and this is, I don't know why I got it, but this person is saying this, and it's almost like a medium, brother. Wow. You know. And so when now to jump a little bit forward, after this gift, after I had that
out of body experience or whatever you're calling
whatever, man, that spirit has always looked out for me.
Really?
You know, anytime I had hardships, I would tell God, I need you. You know, I need you. And finally, I gave it my, you know, I said, here, Lord, I'm giving you, wherever you want me to do in my life, I give it to you, you know. Wow. So through all my life experiences that I've experienced, that was one of the things that stays within me.
Stay with you your whole life.
Yeah.
So at 19 years old, you have this experience. And when you had that experience, it didn't make you want to change, Gunnar? It didn't make you want to, because after that, you kept slanging. Yeah. In fact, you had your best years slanging after that.
Yeah, after that. Because I didn't understand it. I didn't know my purpose still. You know, because I still didn't, at that time, I didn't give the reins over to God. I could tell you I don't know the exact year, but I could tell you I went to go see that movie, Bruce Almighty. Yeah. In that theater, I'm in there watching this movie, and I've always been on my own, man, pretty much had to take care of myself. So I'm in there watching this movie, and everybody's laughing, and I'm crying, brother, because he's on the bridge, man, and he can't take it no more, and he's telling God, I submit. Yeah. And that broke me right there. That's when I said, I can't do it by myself no more. And I called upon God, and I said, I need you, and I'm not a bro. I'm not a Bible bagger.
No.
But I'm a
no.
very
Speak
spiritual.
Your heart,
yes,
speak your heart.
you know,
That's what this show's about.
Yeah, so I said I can't do this no more by myself. I've always been struggling all my life. I can't do it because I always thought, even when I was little, when my dad had the stroke, I had to be the one to step up and be the man and handle shit. Even watching my brothers and raising them, saying, you better not be doing this, you better not be doing that, because I thought I had to be the father figure, and I never had nobody to cry on or my shoulders to lean on or ask anybody for help. I couldn't. It was hard for me to ask for help because I always felt I'm the strong one.
Yeah.
And so finally, when I saw that movie and I saw him breaking down in the rain on that bridge in the movie, I'm sitting there crying because I realized I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
And so that's when I said I'm done. I don't. And then I found out I was gonna be a dad.
Yeah.
And actually that's when I didn't want to be in jail or raising or not raising my son because I'm in jail. And so I've been clean 28 years.
20 years. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Congrats.
My son's gonna be 27 in January, so it took 9 months. So I gave it all up. Even when the times got hard, and my ex goes, maybe you should go start doing that again just for a little bit. And I'm like, no, I can't do that.
What was the drug of choice that you were?
Cocaine. Cocaine was what, because this is before meth really got. Growing up, you had cross tops.
Yeah.
You had amphetamines, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in the early '80s, which was a rich man's drug, was
it
cocaine.
is. It's called. I was about to say that cocaine is known as the rich man's drug.
Yeah.
And for those of you that know my life or don't know my life, I work in entertainment, and at a lot of these big celeb parties, I'm being real. There's cocaine everywhere. It's everywhere. Everybody's doing cocaine. All the celebs that you guys look up to, they're all doing cocaine. And I've been at these parties. So exactly what he's saying is true. Cocaine is the rich man's drug. And you were a rich man. You were making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
And then of course, when you're in that line of work, brother, I'm telling you, I had money in my pocket. I had women. I had it all.
You had it all.
Because money attracts the women.
Of course.
And then and I carry myself well, and I had a lot of people respect me. I put in a lot of work in my neighborhood. I was known for being a tough guy. I didn't take no crap from nobody. So I would get down with anyone. As long as you just didn't disrespect me, I gave you love. But if you disrespected me, the one now
you're gonna get dealt with.
We're gonna get dealt with.
Now you're from, Barrio Monrovia. Do you have any tats? You think we can see some of your tats, Colonel?
Yeah, sure. I am. A lot of my work is different, like Jack Rudy. You know Jack Rudy?
Yeah.
I got Jack Rudy on me, Mark Mahoney.
Oh, yeah, Mark Mahoney.
I got Mark Mahoney, Mike Brown. I got a couple of homies from different neighborhoods that did some
of the work on you.
Some of the work on me. Homemade guitar strings.
Now, if we could focus, we have sangre right here. Mm-hmm. We have sangre.
This right here was gonna be from my blood, sangre mia.
Yeah.
But I never finished the mia. But I left it alone.
You have, what else do you have on here?
That's my high school mascot from my neighborhood.
All right. And
that's just a photo of Dia de Dead, the dead.
Yes, Dia de los Muertos.
That's Jack Rudy actually did that by hand.
Really?
Yeah, and that's his hand. He kept looking at his hand.
Wow.
When he did that. He just freestyled that.
Miranda.
Uh-huh. My last name.
We have the 8-ball.
That was because...
the famous 8-ball, Karna, which everybody knows, Yeah. What else do we have? What does that say there? Oh, your father and mother.
Yeah, from my father and mother. This the little friendship circle here.
Yeah. What do you have in your back, Karna? What do you have? You have a lot. You got a cross. You got the women. We know the women.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if you see the women. We got the naked women. I have a few of those on me too.
Yeah.
We got at the bottom.
That was just a design from my tío.
We have.
That's an Indian woman.
Which represents your Indian blood.
My Indian
blood. And then we have. Wow, that's some crazy.
Yeah, that was a guitar string. And
really?
Homemade gun. Yeah, from my homeboy Hopper from, I think it was from Hayes, from Monte.
From Hayes, yeah, from Monte. Shout out to all the carnales from Monte.
There you go.
Got the cooler. We got the boxing.
That's all my heart. Cause, like I said, I was heavyweight and I used to fight big boys, so it took a lot of heart. It's my Route 66 that runs through my neighborhood.
Yeah, Route 66. That was your barrio. Wow.
And I got some on my legs.
Your legs.
And, you know, whatnot.
Yeah.
And stuff. But, you know, it's funny because my father, when he was alive, before, you know, he passed, he always told me not to get any tattoos while he was alive. And I respected that.
Really?
And I didn't get anything.
Yeah.
But he died February 7th, 1983. So when I was 18, my first tattoo, I got my roses right here. And then I just been getting them here and there ever since.
Yeah. Gracias, carnal, for showing some of your ink off to us. Do you have any tats that you regret?
Actually, one I did, but I covered it up. It was just they always tell you don't put your woman's name on you.
Yeah.
And
you know that?
I did that, and it didn't work out, so I covered that up, and that was about the only one. But you know, all my tats for some reason have a story why I have it on there.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly. They all have a story.
They all have a story.
Let me ask you, the one right here. What's the story on that?
The dragon?
Yeah.
Well, I'm born in an astrological sign. I believe it's the year of the snake.
Yeah.
So it's more you know, I always liked dragons.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a serpent.
Yeah.
So that's basically why I got the astrological sign for the Chinese astrological sign. But I have some other things that are mixed in. If you can see, that's my first tattoo, the rose.
Oh wow.
And then I have some praying hands.
That's right.
So they just worked around.
Kind of mixed in, a little bit of like your life.
Yes, it's all incorporated, you know, in there. And you know, my praying hand was, you know, because of my faith, you know.
Yeah.
And then just this because of my native blood as well.
Yeah, your native
my uncle
blood.
designed that, so I put that on me.
The boxing gloves.
Boxing from my amateur career.
You know what? That's one thing is our culture out there. When we get tats, they have a story. They mean something. We just don't usually get tats to say, oh, well, let me put this star on you.
Yeah.
You know, that's, you know, from where we come from.
Right.
We're taught, hey, you know, if you're going to get something on you, get something that means something.
Memorable.
So you're in your barrio. You've had an out-of-body experience. You know, you're out there. You've put in work for your neighborhood. You've almost died. You're making tons of money, you know. Why change?
My son.
Your son was born.
My son. I found out I was going to be a dad, and I didn't want, like I said, I didn't have a father figure or mother figure. Why would I want to do that to a child of mine that's going to be born if I keep doing what I'm doing? It's, you know, brother, how it's going to either end. People hate, they snitch to get caught. You know, so it's just a matter of time. Either you're going to get busted, killed, or something, you know? And I just didn't want that. And I had a good grandmother of mine would tell me, you know, man, there's only 2 people I ever know, Mar, that said that they're going to quit doing what they're doing and completely mean it, and you one of them.
That's true.
And that's because I didn't want, and let me tell you something, brother. Paul Banky will tell you, I raised a good son. He graduated University of Arizona. Congrats. With a degree, works for a law firm.
Wow,
he makes great money. He don't, you know, I give myself props on that. I did that perfectly. I made a deal with God. I said, please, let me live long enough to instill in my son the values of a man I want him to be. Let me raise my son. And I said, and after that, Lord, if you want to take me, I will gladly go. No, you know, and hey, brother, he gave me that, and I couldn't ask for a better son, you know. And I told him now, hey, whenever you're ready, man, I'm ready. I hope it ain't, you know, I mean,
soon,
you know, it ain't soon. But
it's crazy that, you know, when you were saying that, that's why I kind of laughed, because I say the same prayer, Colonel.
Yeah.
I say the same prayer. I say, God, allow me to live long enough to make sure that my family's okay. And I got 4.
Yeah.
You know, I got 4 beautiful kids, and it's like I always say, God, us as parents, we want to see them do good. Now, so basically, the life that you lived, you didn't want it for your son.
No.
So if you didn't want it for your son, why'd you choose it for you?
I just didn't know better. You know, I didn't have, I'm telling you, brother, I had to, and I'm not lying to you. I was tacked up. I had a reputation of being, I didn't play, homie. I took care of business.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was a virgin. And they would tell me, yeah, right, and I'm the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know anything about women, I didn't have nothing to offer women. I felt, like, who's gonna wanna be with me? So I didn't have the father-son talk about, son, you do this, you wear protection, or you can care. I never learned any of that, man. I didn't even know the anatomy of a woman, man. As I was coming up, I didn't know what, what was really, nothing, brother.
Yeah.
And I wanted that. I didn't want that for my son.
For your son.
I wanted to be able to instill good values in him.
Good values.
And I pray to God, please, Father God, do not let my son, don't punish my son for my sins.
For my sins. I pray the same prayer. And I pray the same prayer.
And I used to, and I'm telling you, brother, they say when you ask God for forgiveness, he forgives you.
Yeah.
But even though I knew that I had asked for forgiveness and I knew that he had forgave me, I never forgave myself. I was still feeling my son goes, Dad, you got to let it go. You asked for forgiveness. God forgave you. Yeah. You have to forgive yourself now. Because even to this day, I still feel remorse for the actions that I did, because like I tell you, what comes with that line of work, brother, when someone don't pay you, you just don't go, okay, well, he didn't pay me.
No, you don't.
You start doing that and everybody's gonna, so you have to show that you're not playing.
So exactly, for those that don't know, when someone didn't pay you when they owed you, because we know that in that life, many times they don't have feria, they don't have money, and you're like, yeah, almost like consignment. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what? Oh, yeah, don't worry, I got you. And sometimes they try to get sneaky and be funny. What would you do, Carnal?
Well,
and just be real. We're here.
You don't leave them much options. You put the pain.
Yeah.
You put the pain one way or the other. You make these. And I don't want to say threats because I wasn't about a threat. I was
I was
a doer.
There ain't no threats, Carnal.
No, and it's I had these two personas, brother. Yeah. I'm a loyalist, brother. I'm loyal.
Yes.
You treat me right, homie, I'll go to war with you. I treat you right.
That's right.
But if you fuck me, then I'd have
fucking yourself.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was. That's how I was. I remember being raised, but you can't let nobody walk on you. That's why I had such failed relationships, because I had this idea of, how dare you talk to me like that? You're talking to him, you disrespect me like that, and that's how I would put fear in my girls. My I never hit any of my women, homie.
Yeah.
But I would tell them, if you were a man,
you'd get it.
And they got scared, and they were like, this dude, and they didn't want to be with me after that, and I did that to myself.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to handle everything. I thought everything was with fear, to control things, And let me tell you, and as well as I do, sometimes that works, brother. Sometimes that's just the only way some people are gonna learn is when I'm not scared of you and blah blah blah. But then one minute when you got them, and next thing you're like, okay, please, and like, oh, now it's please.
Oh yeah, now it's please. Yeah.
So you when you're in that way of life, that's it's just the way the rules are. It's just the way it is.
It's almost kind of like, it's almost kind of like, the prison system, Colonel.
I ain't never been there, homie, but a lot of my homies tell me I'd have been all right, but I said, I ain't trying to find out.
Yeah, no, I'm saying? You get control with fear. Just like not in the prison system, but like the guy is too.
Yeah,
saying? You control people with fear.
Yeah.
And it works.
That's what I'm saying.
It really works.
That's what I said. Would you rather have someone love you or fear you?
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So these people, when they knew that if they didn't have your feria, they're going to catch a beat down.
Right.
Either, you know what I'm saying? And so they already know, like, hey, and if not catch a beat down, it could even be worse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Depending on the depth amount.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so you were living like this, and you were making tons of money, but also you're doing whatever you have to get that feria if they think they're going to get over on you. And you're a big vato. For people that ain't seen you, you're a big man. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big man, so it's like I saw you and I go, he's a big dude. So I'm sure you You could wreck, you could hurt some people.
Yeah, no,
And so you're about to have your son, and your son, by God's grace, made you change your life. And you didn't want that for your son. So you just gave it all up, Colonel?
I gave it all up, brother.
All the money. Everything.
Dude, I remember, my son's mother, when that money wasn't coming in like it was, And
Yeah.
although I did work, I got into be a mover. I was a mover, I did that for 12 years.
Yeah.
So you don't work all the time, so which was cool because I got to do side jobs when I didn't work. But it was hard work, man, being a mover, knowing that I used to make 3 times my paycheck in a day or two, but I had peace of mind because that program, Bad Boys, I hated that show. I hated that show, and I hated the music, Bad Boys, man. Because you know what you're doing, and you know what you're doing right, and it only takes one time for someone to snitch on you or give you up, and then you're busted. Look at, if I wouldn't have listened to my instincts that one night, they would have found everything.
Wow.
And I had about half a key. I already had stuff backed up. I had the scale. I would have been busted. I'd have been gone, homie.
Yeah, you would have been gone. So were you? So it's safe to say. I mean, during that time, were you ever paranoid? Were you ever like?
What? I honest to goodness, I never was one to be paranoid, man. I just took the precautions that I know I should take.
Yeah.
But nothing's ever 100% guaranteed.
Of course not.
Nothing's ever, And then as I started getting deeper into it, I remember buying this little thing that you connect to your phone, and it would tell you if your phone was being tapped.
Yeah.
Tapped. And if this light goes on, it means it's tapped. I never had to go on. And one day, before that went on, I noticed the light went on, and I said to myself, and so maybe that put that in my head or something, but. When I heard that voice get rid of everything that night, and I listened, and then, but even like I said, after that, I just was even more cautious because back then it was pagers, it wasn't phones.
Yeah.
And so when I meet somebody, I tell them, okay, I knew where to meet them or who it was by the text.
Let me ask you, what was the worst thing thing that you witnessed while out there slanging this?
You know what? I didn't see any. I mean,
you didn't ever see or ever hear about someone ODing off something that you delivered?
No, because this is just before they start rocking shit up.
Yeah.
So when they would do the powder, you get high, whatever. But I never really knew anybody that was ODing on powder, just snoring or whatever. But I do know that I started to realize some of my customers were getting really addicted to that and were coming to see me more. And that's when I started realizing
you're hurting people,
that I'm hurting their children or taking their father away from them.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to have remorse. And I remember one night, no bullshit, I was drinking, I got drunk, and I was feeling down, brother, and I was like, I didn't want to live anymore. Wow. I wanted to jump off my balcony, just feeling that bad, and my buddy called me, my partner, and started saying, just take a couple bumps, man. You drink, to bring yourself back up because you're drinking too much, and bring, and I'm coming over, and he came over, and but that's when I started to have remorse. Towards the end, before my son was born, before I knew I was going to be, I started to have remorse. So then when I found out I was going to be a dad, I found out the night that Oscar de la Hoya was going to fight Chavez the very first time. That's when I found out I was going to be a dad. And it was just after that, I just realized, I got to get away from this. And the money, brother. Oh,
and, we didn't talk too much about your boxing career because you are a boxer as well.
Yeah.
How many amateur fights did you have?
I had about 14.
14?
I had 14. I started boxing for Azusa when I was 19.
Wow, okay.
But I had started boxing with my compadre when I was about 14, just teaching me the fundamentals. I didn't start competing as an amateur until I got to Azusa, which I was about 19.
Yeah, about 19.
Yeah, and then I competed and until I was about I don't know, maybe 25, maybe
25.
25, 24, 25, something. I have to look at my book.
Wow.
When my last fight was. But I always stood in the gym. I was always
Really?
oh
So
yeah,
you're dedicated.
Yeah, I would always just to stay in shape, because even after I stopped competing, when I got with my son's mother, I was weighing like 297 at one time.
Wow.
Because I got comfortable, I was in love, and I ate, but then I got too fat and diabetic, and the doctor goes, you need to lose some. You're too fat, man. You know your sugar's 750, my sugar, and my cholesterol was 650. So I went back to what I knew, boxing, and I dropped about 60 pounds, and I've been, pretty good keeping it off now.
Staying in shape.
So
good,
so I went back to boxing, just moving around, sparring and whatnot. I used to do a lot of sparring with Sugar Shane Mosley's father's heavyweights. He used to always bring us heavyweights in. So I would just spar a lot, just to stay in shape.
Stay in shape.
I had about 14. I won the Golden Gloves, the novice Golden Gloves when I was fighting.
Wow.
I won a
Congratulations.
couple. Thank you. Yeah, that was a big accomplishment, for me.
Of course.
To win that, and then a few other police association championships, and
Now let me ask you: and we've kind of went a little bit all over the place, but you know what I'm saying? Hey,
that's the story of my life, man.
It's okay. It's all right. And you know what? Our audience, they understand. They get it. So during this time of you fighting, you never said, man, maybe I could have a career in boxing, but you never thought about that, or just but I think, was it the slanging was more important?
No, actually, brother, I wasn't. When I first started, when I was boxing, like I told you, I always had this feeling of I have to be the rescuer, I have to be the provider. So even though if I would have been more selfish and just said, I got to take care of me, I probably would have turned pro. But because I was already out on my own at 16. Wow. I was living on my own at 16. I used to live in a 1-bedroom apartment with like 7, 8 paisas and shit,
Wow.
And so I was already out on my own at 16, brother. So I would always watch my brothers. I was always worried about my brothers, getting in trouble, getting hurt. So it was hard for me to not be the father figure for them.
Yeah.
I was like, my little brother would tell you, man, Mark, you're not just my brother. You're like a father figure to me, Mark, because you were always there to make sure we had food and this. And that's why and then I had to work, I was on my own. So I used to drive up to Frisco in Arizona once a week. I was either going to either or. So I'd train, and then I had to go, let's say I had to go to Frisco on Thursday. I'd be gone till Friday, so I'd miss 2 days of training. So, living on my own, being my own man, I had to work. I had to make my money, to survive.
That was priority.
So that was priority.
Over the boxing.
So, exactly.
Got it.
But I wanted to be a pro. I mean, I sparred with top 10 contenders.
Really? Wow.
Man, I used to spar with Alex Garcia, Lionel Butler, David Sewell, Glenn Kennedy, Johnny Chavez. I even sparred a couple times with Zach Padilla. Wow. So I did you
were out there. You were doing
and I loved it, man. But it just wasn't. By the time I was already too old. Yeah. I had to think about it and say, it's not for you. It's
not for you anymore.
It's not.
That wasn't your destiny.
It wasn't my destiny.
That wasn't your destiny.
So and I look back now, and like I said, I see kids, and and I try to give them advice, homie.
If you were, and I would want you to look in the camera, if you could give advice to a young man who was, just starting off, starting to slang, starting small, what would you tell him?
I'd tell him, don't do it. It's not worth it, because, if, let's say, for instance, I ask him, okay, you're going to go do $1,000 deal, and you get busted, and they give you 5 years. Yeah. You don't think you can make $5,000? I mean, 1,000 in 5 years? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I know it's with TV and all the bling bling and all. I know it's tempting, and that's the devil pulling at you, man. But it's just not worth it. There's so much help out there now. guys such as yourself, familiar with the game, and you know, you're giving back. You know, there's ways out there that people will say, hey, you know what? I see this kid. I know he wants to change. I know he needs the help. I want to help him. Because when I see somebody that I know is struggling, and I see that they're worth saving, you know, I go out of my way. Paul tribute to that. I try to help as many people as I can. So I would tell them, don't do it. It's just not worth it, man. You know, I know it's hard, man, but keep the faith, and you know what? God will deliver it. He'll put it, you know, at your footsteps.
One last thing that I would like you to tell the people, if you could go back in time and tell. Now this is heavy, okay? This is heavy, Gurna. Tell all the families that you helped ruin, all the lives that you hurt, all the people that got addicted off of your product. What would you tell those people?
Oh, I'd ask for their forgiveness. I'd give my sincere apologies for my indiscretions, you know, for the wrong I did, not only for their loved one, but from what I took away from them, offering up that poison. I remember getting a ride home from a camarada of mine, a brother of mine. And because he gave me a ride, I gave him a quarter gram of cocaine. I'll never forget this. And he looked at it and he was like, "Órale, órale, thanks, carnal, gracias." And I never forget that, because I looked at it and I go, I just gave this something that can take him away from his children or kill him. And he's thanking me like I saved his life. And I go, he's thanking me like I'm his lover, you know. I know, gracias, all right, you know. And I never forget that in my mind. I could see it to this day. You know what I mean? And to look back now and think what I contributed to, instead of helping the brother and saying, hey, carnal, let me get you some help, you know, let me do this. And that's why maybe now I'm so adamant about trying to work my way back in the good graces of God. Even though I know I asked for forgiveness and I know He's forgiven me, and it took a long time for me to forgive myself. I still have that, you know, feeling of I owe them. I'm indebted to them. I need to make it right. Not maybe with them, but maybe with somebody else. Somebody else, and so that's my work now. That I even though I don't work anymore, you know, I'm medically retired, but verbally and if I could assist in any way with my experience and my language and just anything, if I could lift your spirits, that's what I try to do, brother. You know, that's what I try to do.
Mario, thank you for being a part of the show. We were honored to have you.
My pleasure, Vince.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Let the audience know where they can find you on social media.
You can find me at the Mario Miranda on Instagram as well as Facebook, and that's about it.
That's about it. Give them a follow. If you or anyone know that are dealing with any kind of substance addiction or something, or
if you need me to speak to your kids, you know, or,
he's right there. You know, he's right there, and he'd be willing to come out. You know, and so you do speaking?
I do whatever. Like I have a lot of friends that say, "Hey, man, I'm having trouble with my kid. You know, would you mind talking to him?" I said, "If I talk to him, I'm keeping it real, man." That's all we can ask for, and that's, you know. And I'll set something up, and I just let them know where I've been, what I've seen, and let them know what they have and what they should appreciate, you know. And
so you basically do what our show does.
Yeah,
you speak the truth.
Yeah, I just try to speak the truth, but I don't. You know, that's why I get all over the place, because I have so many stories, Vince, that they just come out. They just come out, and you know, then the timeline might be a little mixed up, but you know, that's why my uncle says, Chino, you know, you should put it down on paper. Or I bought a little recorder just to start speaking into it, and maybe someone that knows how to write or something that could format it better. You know.
Wow. Thank you once again for being a part of Barrio Driven. This is Barrio Driven.